Fantastic. All right, I'll pop a couple of calls and I'll be back.
Okay, right. I'll just go through the protocol. What tends to work best, if this is okay with you, is once we've sort of all been around and just sort of introduced ourselves, which we've kind of done already, is if you switch your microphones off, because I know that in centres, you know, people come in and phones ring, etc. But the problem is the microphone, the way the video conferencing, and I'm saying specifically for those of you who may not have been part of this before, it focuses on where the noise is coming from. So you'll see where the highlight moves as the loudest noise comes from. So if you could switch your microphone off once the session started, and then if you want to ask a question, you can just put your hand up, and then I'll say,
I'll be able to get you.
yeah, you know, so there's obviously
I'll get through this way, I'll be fine.
Darren, by the looks of things, so I'll say yes, Lynn Lee from Darren, you know.
That's right.
And we've already covered the OK to record, so that's good. So
can I just say, I'm not sure how to turn my microphone off.
Okay.
Just put it on mute.
Yeah, so but it's how do you do that? So on the, yeah, you got it.
Speakers? Okay.
So you can do it on the in the software. If you have a look, you should be able to click mute on the screen. Otherwise, sometimes headphones have a mute, or your speaker will have a mute.
I bought headphones in, but they're Bluetooth and I can't Bluetooth them.
Okay, all right. So you should be able to do it actually within the.
Okay, I'll see if I can find out.
If you
Bottom left-hand corner.
Where was it, Loretta?
Bottom left-hand corner.
Oh yes, thank you.
No, actually,
Okay.
Sharon.
It's
Ah, there's Hazel. And there's Trish, although it's not Trish, from Waruna. Yeah, so everybody's here, I think.
Yeah, not from Linley.
No, Linley was here. Linley's here. There's Linley, Darren. So I see.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Question. To the left of Natalie Warnborough.
Oh, there she is. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Alrighty.
Alrighty. Good to go?
Let's go.
Let's go. 12:01. So I think everybody knows all of us that are in the room here. You can't quite see Sharon, but Sharon's already said hello.
Hazel's not on mute.
Hazel was here, but
There she is.
Not on mute.
Oh, there she is. Yep.
Okay.
Got me on mute.
Judy, who is going to be the wisdom in the room today, and going to help us navigate from AUSKey onto MyGovID, and I'm just here to facilitate the session. So before we all switch our microphones to mute, could I just go around, and I'm just going to go from the top of the screen across and ask you to introduce yourself, what your role is in the centre, and also what you're hoping to get out of today. So where you are on the AUSKey to MyGovID journey. So Susan, as your top of the screen at Boddington, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Susan Henderson, coordinator at the Boddington Community Resource Centre. Been here in the position for about a year. As far as finance, we've had a situation where the Shire had taken over finance and a couple other things for a period of 2 years, which is about to end on the 30th of June. So we need to get ourselves familiar with the new system so that we can be ready to go. And I'm guessing that we'll probably need to provide some sort of community information, you know, as well for other businesses.
Brilliant, thanks Susan. So then we've got Rebecca at Tambler. You could switch, you just need to unmute your mic now, Dave.
Yes. Hi guys, so I'm Rebecca, the coordinator of Tambler CRC. I do also finance, and we currently have AUSKey, and I'd just like to know how best to switch it as a business, not individual.
Okay, fabulous. So that's transfer from business AUSKey to MyGovID. Loretta.
Hi, Loretta from Gaballing CRC. Just got used to AUSKey, and now we have to change. I have two things really. I have a query about whether the treasurer should be actually registering to use the MyGovID, or should I do it as an individual. All our banking is 2 to sign, and I'm one of the signing authorities, so I didn't know whether I needed to go to treasurer or if I can set it up myself.
I address that in this a bit later, Loretta. So
cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And gosh, sorry.
It's Felicia.
Thank you.
I've got the list here. Felicia, we've got you. Oh, there we are. Great.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Felicia McDonald. I'm at Calabarin. I've been in the job pretty much spot on 1 year. We don't have AUSKey at all, and I signed up for this because I thought, what is it? No idea. So therefore, I'm a completely empty vessel that needs filling.
Fabulous. Okay, well, hopefully we can help
can
you.
I just ask, how do we lodge your BAS and instalment activity statements?
How we get them?
Yeah,
You
how
lodge
do you lodge
them.
them?
I don't know. My finance person does that.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay, I'm sure we'll come to. I'm sure we'll be able to help you there somehow. Jodie.
I'm Jodie from Boyartbrook CRC. I'm the manager, but I'm also just responsible for the uploading of all of the BAS and the super and so forth. So we are using AUSKey currently. I went on to make the change. I downloaded the app onto my phone and then kind of went, I don't have time for the rest of this right now. So yes, any information will be certainly appreciated.
Fabulous. Thanks, Jodie. And Lindley from Darren.
Hi, I think you know. Hi everyone, Lindley from Darren. I've been the coordinator here for about 5.5 years. I absolutely have no idea where we are at AUSKey. I'm trying to find information about it. I'm completely lost. Yes, we still submit things as we need to, but I think I'm right behind the 8 ball here.
Great, fabulous. Thanks, Lindley, for your honesty. I don't think you're alone there. Okay, Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie from Warnbro. I've been here for a long time. I have been using an AUSKey for many, many years. I don't know how long, but a long time. And I did try to set up a MyGov account a couple of years ago for the centre. I can't remember why I started doing it, but maybe I got an email about something. Then I realised it had to be done in my own name, which confused me a bit. So I didn't do any more. And then when this training came up, I just thought I'd do it. My treasurer will actually do it all for me, but I just want to know myself, because although she'll set it up, I will do everything else.
Fabulous. Thanks, Natalie.
So, yeah.
So now I can't remember who we.
I think, is it Melinda from Nungaran?
So Melinda from Nungaran, unfortunately we can't ask you because I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you. But if there's any questions that you want to ask, and this actually applies to everybody else that we don't get around to answering today, feel free to email them through, and you know, we'll do what we can. Okay, so Hazel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, Hazel Harris, coordinator at Williams. We've had a change of finance officer within the last year, so we've been on AUSKey. I'm at the same as Jodie, really. I've also downloaded the app, and that's about as far as I've got. So, yeah, just sort of finding out what the next step is, so that I can hand on the information as and when. I do the BAS and the super at the moment, so I thought it best that I knew what was going on, and then we can hand on as and when with that information. So, thank you very much. Very timely.
Thanks.
Now we've got Sasha from Waruna.
And Sasha from Waruna.
Hi, yes, can you hear me? Yeah. Lovely. I didn't know if I had to press a button or something. So I've been at the Waruna CRC now for just going on 2 years. I'm the finance officer here. We are powering along with this MyGovID. So we're currently on the AUSKey, which is listed under our manager's name. So that's connected to her. I've downloaded the MyGovID app, and we have the manager now listed. It's now gone through to the RAMS area. I've invited myself to join, but the software on my phone's not good enough. So I now have to get another phone so that I can join the party and actually do the work. So, but we are 3/4 of the way through. I'm just slightly terrified about logging onto the ATO to do my PAYG and my super.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So we've got a full spectrum here of people who have no experience of AUSKey, and to those who are obviously 3/4 of the way through. Where Judy and I are is, well, thanks to Judy, we think we've done it. So we think we've done the whole lot and we've got all the way to the end. So we're not claiming to be experts, and we definitely, there was quite a bit of swearing along the way, I will tell you now. But, and we also involved our treasurer, Tony, who came in and gave us a hand, tried to. Yeah, like I say, you know, but I think between all of us, we could probably answer some of the questions. But what Judy's going to do is she's going to just break it down into what you need before you start. She'll talk about principal authorities and authorising employees. And I think in doing that, we'll answer hopefully all of your questions. But if we don't, at the end of each section, what I'll do is I'll open that up for questions. And obviously there'll be an opportunity to ask further questions along the way. And Susan's already got a question. Hi, Susan.
Okay. Is it okay to record it with this button on the front of the screen?
So we are recording it, Susan.
Oh, right, cool. Okay,
and it'll go up on our YouTube channel. I will send you all the link. So if you don't follow everything that we covered today, there'll be the video, and we're hoping there'll be quite a comprehensive resource that we can share with you as well afterwards, which is very much a step-by-step guide.
Thank you.
Okay, can you start some more mute again?
Yeah, so if you would all like to mute now, which was bottom left, so I can see Natalie's done it, Hazel, you just need to mute yours, Jodie's muted. Yeah, everybody, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. So then just put up your hand if you've got a question. So I'll hand you over to Judy.
So, good afternoon, ladies. I don't claim to be the full bottle because I drank half of it last night. So, and one of the first things is, which I heard, was ensure that your device is compatible, which mine wasn't. So same thing, new phone. Had to get myself a new phone. So that is one of the main things. And you need to have, if it's an Apple device, an iOS 10 or later operating system on it, or an Android 7 or later on your, otherwise, like I couldn't even download the app so to start with. So that was my issue.
And adding on to that, I've heard from other people who have been able to download the app if they haven't had quite the latest, but then it doesn't work properly. So even if it looks like it's downloading, if you don't have those operating systems, it's not going to work.
Yeah, but it may be just a matter of a software update to get those.
Yeah, might
you
be.
know, as well. If you don't do software updates regularly, that might help as well.
Yeah, good point.
So once you've got your MyGovID, it just allows you to access the ATO business portal and a few other things and deal with the ATO. So when you've got your own, it's different to MyGov, Natalie. I'm not sure whether you were talking, you may have set up a MyGov account This is completely different. This is a MyGovID, which is just a separate entity altogether. So when you set it up, you have to have a personal email that only you can access, and it needs to be accessible on your device as well. So as I said, if you use a Gmail or something, but something you have your emails that can come through on your phone at the same time, because you get a lot of verifications, yes, that and if you haven't got one or the other, then you can't go any further. So this first part is just about setting up your MyGovID, which is just you personally, and that personal ID will link you to any business that you're an associate with. So if you have a partnership and you have an ABN, when you put your MyGovID, that will come up and you'll need to link to that. So you can have a list of 5 or 6 different businesses or organisations when you finally do log in. Some of them you may no longer have anything to do with, which is another thing that I had. I've been left Beacon for 11 years, but I'm still listed on their tennis club as an associate from my days as treasurer. So just sort of need to do a few things like that. Some things to also have is your ID. So license, passport, Medicare, and your birth certificate. So they're the IDs you need. You can scan them, but I wouldn't recommend scanning because the scanning does not pick up all the correct details. With mine, my name was spelled completely different.
Oh, sorry, Loretta.
How many IDs do you need? Because I don't have a current passport.
No, 2. So your driver's license and your Medicare card.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So you have at least 2. You can set it up with 1, but then you're only a basic user, and that basic user has very limited access to the things, and they have to be renewed every 12 months. The other thing too is if you change phones, if you change devices, you have to redo your identity check and set it up again on your new phone. So it doesn't, because I had some issues with mine, I think 3 times I uninstalled the app and reinstalled it and went through, because my issue was I was putting in my second name, and then when it's coming up, it didn't register my second name. So it was just a bit weird, not sure. So in the end, I just left my second name out of it altogether.
Middle name.
My middle name, yeah. So did that.
You've got a question, I think, from Natalie.
Natalie, yeah.
Sorry, you keep talking about your phones. Can we not do it on our PC? Is that okay?
No, because the thing is, with on your phone, it is your personal identity. So that's why it is through the app, and it just proves who you are, and only you can access it.
And it's a little bit like doing, so we use, for our banking, we don't have toggles anymore. Our bank sends us a verification code to our phone. So when we registered for banking, I had to give obviously my personal details, my home address and my mobile phone. And when I go in to do the authorization for work, the verification code comes through to my phone, and that's the same with this. So
it's a little bit different, because you're actually on your PC logging into the ATO.
Yeah.
But the ATO comes up with a verification code, which you have to then put into your app when you log in, and put it into the app, and then it verifies and takes you to the next step.
Yeah. So your phone number and so you can do it on your PC, but you still have to have your phone and the app.
Okay, I got it.
So when you're registering, you have to have a password. Now the password has to be exactly 10 characters long. So it has to have an upper and a lowercase letter, a number, and for better security, have a symbol in it as well. So have a think about it before you get there, because when you think 10 letters and you're trying to make up a password, oh, hang on, I've got 1 or 2. So think of that one before you actually get in there. And as I said, you can just have letters and numbers, but for a bit more security. And you can also set up your fingerprint login on the phones now. So that's a second layer of security that your fingerprint access will help you log in as well. So it just depends how comfortable you are doing that.
So just for clarification, when I go into my phone, I use my fingerprint to access my phone. And then when I set up the MyGovID app, it asks me if I wanted to use the fingerprint, which has already got stored. So now when I go into the MyGovID app, I just use my fingerprint as my ID. I'm watching you shake your head. I know, Loretta. I'm feeling it.
It sounds complicated, but if you just go step by step and have these things before you start, it doesn't take too long. And as I said, this thing, your MyGovID setup is just for you personally. You then have to later link it to the business. So just remember that your MyGovID app is yours and yours alone. So you can't have someone else set up one and think you can go in and lodge. You won't be able to do that. So before you finish, just double check to ensure that all your details, your name is spelt correctly, that you haven't, if you're entering manually as well, that you haven't, a bit like autocorrect on your text messages. Just double check that all your information is correct, and if you've got the two forms of ID, then your strength is standard, which is the recommended. So once you finalise, you need then to go in to check your identity details, and when you're there, it'll come up, you go identity details, and that will give you your name, and you need that name to be exact to the principal authority to allow you to link to the centre. So that's pretty much it. So that is the one thing after this, is to find out who your principal authority is, but that's our next step.
That's
so
our
is
next
there
step.
any questions?
Felicia.
Why do we need this?
Okay, so Alicia, I'll hand over to Jude. Your finance officer might be using AUSKey already, and
No, she's not.
All right, so I'll hand you over to Judy. How's your finance officer submitting your BAS payments?
Felicia doesn't know.
I don't know, but it happens.
Okay, so well, I mean, that's what you need to discuss with them as to how it is, because this is going to be the way of the future. It's one of those things that you don't want to do, but you have to get there eventually.
Yeah.
So,
So basically, we have to sign up and do all this stuff to submit our BAS.
it depends. Do you receive the BAS as a paper form at the moment?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So at the moment, you can probably continue on with that, but I'm not sure. We'd need to check with the ATO. So that's a question. We can just check whether once this comes in fully, whether paper ones will be out the gate. So we'll double check for you.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then yes, you will have to, move over to it.
Okay, but essentially that's what it's for.
Yes. So any dealings with the ATO or any government services. So it would be like the one we've done is the Department of Social Services. We've linked that up as well because we've had people using maternity leave, and so they get the Centrelink payments and things like that. So anything that your centre deals with could be some, Department of Health or something like that that you have dealings with, or your super goes through the ATO. With that, if you lodge it through the ATO, so that's one of the things.
But so super would be like if we were doing our own payroll.
So someone else is doing your payroll, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our super goes through. We because I had this conversation as well, but because we lodge our BAS and also our super goes through directly through the ATO, this is easier for us to go on to eventually to go on to the MyGovID. But so who does your payroll?
The Shire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we pay them.
Yeah, not sure how that works with lodging So do they pay your PAYG as well, Lynn? So
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'd have to look into that. I'm sort of not sure how that works with someone else auspicing your books.
Yeah, okay.
And that would be true, maybe true. I'll come to you in a second, Natalie. That might be true as well. It's a question is if you have, you know, a centre that has a bookkeeper that does this, they would have to have their own set up with all the businesses that they do that for.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the moment then, Keller Barron, it looks like you can continue using paper for the time being. However, we don't know how long that will last for.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Loretta was next.
Okay, Loretta, thanks.
I just had a question about the treasurer. At the moment, our AUSKey is through the treasurer, and I just have access on my computer. I've got it all saved on my computer. You're going to address that later, Judy?
The thing is, once you've got your MyGovID, you will no longer log in with the AUSKey. You will log in with the MyGov, and you can use any computer.
Okay.
Because you personally, you don't have to worry about it being. And I address that in a way in the next step.
Good, thanks.
Yep. So we'll.
Natalie, you had a question?
I just wanted to know, does the super have to eventually go through MyGov as well, or do we just continue to do, if we do that through a super stream at the moment, can we continue to do that? Or will it eventually go through?
You continue to do that. It's just though, if we've just found that with the small number we have, that was just the way we set it up through the ATO and through their super stream, which used to be the Small Business Clearinghouse. So we just go in and go to the super and pay it the same to that. But if you pay it through some other format, that you just keep on with that, that's not an issue.
Okay, any other questions at this point? All right, phase 2, principal officer. Principal authorities or public officer.
Okay, so this is where we ran into issues. And you guys may as well, because if the person who has the AUSKey is not listed on the ABR, the Australian Business Register, as an associate of your centre, you won't be able to do any of this. So what you need to do before doing anything else, you need to check who's listed as the principal authority in the ABR. Now, you may be lucky if you go, when you log into your AUSKey and check with who your AUSKey is, sometimes it may list who your, what was it, primary?
Principal authority.
Primary, I've lost it.
Public officer?
No, it's a primary, oh God, sorry, a blank.
If I go into my AUSKey, will it tell me?
No, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's when you go in, it's the public authority, I think it's called, public authority, and then it'll just have users. And whoever set up the original AUSKey and requested is usually the public authority, but that could be any number of the committee who are no longer there. It could be a past coordinator who is no longer there. So there's a bit of an issue around it. You may be able to find you through the business portal when you log in with your AUSKey and go and see, and if it lists who it is, you're laughing. And if not, being with your AUSKey, you may be able to log in and check and be able to change and add the current, not coordinators, the current chair or treasurer that is there, and then they become, and you list them as, they're an associate, so then they can go in as the primary authority and set all this up for you. So that is the one thing you need. So the principal authority is your key to all of this be setting up. If you don't know who it is and you can't find it through the couple of steps that we'll send to you, then you need to fill out a change of registration details form, which will then go through and add people on. So this is where one of the things that I suggest is to have your coordinator at a meeting authorise for the coordinator to be the public officer.
So this is a minuted
minuted
committee meeting where they make the coordinator of the centre the public officer for all future dealings with the ATO.
The ATO.
Yeah.
And so once you're the coordinator as the public officer, then you become a primary authority. Then you'll be able to go and, you know, take people or add people as needed with that. But I think with this, having one person only is not a good idea. You should have at least 3 that have access to the account. So that if 1 leaves or 2 leave, at least someone is able to go in and change things, add new people or delete as necessary.
But yeah, and I think that's a really key thing, because particularly in small organisations, if you have a committee with a high turnover and the coordinator role tends to be the longer term person, that's why it's really important the coordinator is on there. But obviously if a coordinator leaves, and we know how that happens in our sector, sometimes there's no handover. If you have at least 2 committee members who have access, then they can go in, and current obviously, they can go in and change, take the old coordinator off and add the new coordinator. So that's why we recommend 3.
So what we'll do is we'll send through a couple of links to be able to go in and see whether you can log in to the abr.gov.au, register with your AUSKey if you have an AUSKey. I can't guarantee that they will all work, because if you are just an admin access, you may not be able to get to this area to be able to change it. But if you can actually go in and add your committee members. And as I said, if you've made the public officer, you can do that and delete anyone that's listed there that is no longer connected with the centre. Okay,
Hazel, you had a question. Sorry, Hazel, you just need to unmute.
My actual speaker. This might be more helpful than anything. When we actually did our AUSKey a few years ago, our tax accountant, because they can access the ATO, he could go in and change. It was so much easier to do it that way, got him to do it, because we had I think the first coordinator that was here 15 years ago was still down on the register. And they can upload or update who's on there for you.
That's a really good point. I think when we very first went on to AUSKey, we had to use our auditor, didn't we, to find out who was the principal authority, so that, and get it changed that way.
They can access a lot more than we can, and that's what we pay them for.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't actually have that option. So, but they may be able to just go into the local one and just get advice, and may be able to help them out if possible.
The local accountant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if you know somebody.
So was that, sorry.
Oh yeah, well we have an accountant who, I send my back to just to run their eye over it every quarter, because that's just a backup for me. But whoever audits your books, I mean, you should be able to get them to help you out, because they'll have that information for you, I think.
Yeah, that's who we use. Yeah, thanks, Hazel. Good suggestion. Any other questions before we go carry on? No? Good stuff.
Just one thing on that, with the ABR, it can't be just a coordinator. You can't just add yourself. It has to be a public officer or a chair, secretary or treasurer. So they are the associates. The staff members are not associates. So if you need to have that, that's why I suggest that, you know, the committee member, the coordinator becomes the public officer. And then that way,
when you're ready, sorry.
That means you can add your sort of part of that. You can then go in and be that person that changes things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to walk away from something and I didn't hear where you told us to go and look things up, or to what website you were talking about.
Oh, I've got it here. It's quite a long one.
Oh, okay. No worries. That's fine. Sorry, I have to keep going serving customers, so I keep missing bits and pieces. Sorry.
I'm going to send the links through, and actually I've got quite some detailed things, and I'm hoping that that came from my personal accountant regarding this, creating and linking. So I'm hoping to get permission from them to be able to use it as a resource for us. And if so, it'll just be on the resource centre on our website, but we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll just pull out bits and pieces and give you the step by step.
I guess just for anybody who's not sure, Judy referred to the ABR, that's the Australian Business Register, as opposed to linking your ABN, which is your Australian business number, which presumably is on the Australian Business Register.
Yes.
Yes.
With who is listed, actually, that's what it's
yeah. Just because we throw acronyms around, and you know, people are not necessarily familiar.
Okay, and the other thing is to, I know it sounds a bit silly at this stage, but to have a succession plan for when a coordinator leaves or you're changing chairs, so that this information is kept updated. So it's just probably part and parcel of your policies as well, that you know this is done and it's looked at all the time, because the thing is, if you're in the ATO and you're not sort of listed and you're the only one that's there, they will not tell you who the people were. You have to guess. And you could be guessing back 10 or 15 years, and some, like ours was. Ours was at least 12 years.
Yeah, at least
the people that were, and it could be that whoever first registered for the ABN and GST and all that sort of thing, that could be the people who are listed, and you've got no idea who they are.
I think Natalie has a question, does she?
No, I was just going to make a comment. We did go through that a couple of years ago. When it changed, we had to do a private AUSKey rather than we had our own one, but then it changed where we had to do a private, like we had to do it in an individual's name. I don't know why anyway, but just they wouldn't tell us anything. Who was listed, nothing. It was a real minefield to get through. But we finally figured it out, and I'm actually listed now, and so is my current treasurer, but it was painful at the time, very difficult. So
Natalie, you may only be listed as a contact, not on the ABR.
I don't know how Felicity listed me, but she's on it anyway, so she's the main.
But as I said, all else fails, there is the change of registration detail form, which you can only order online. You can't download it, and then you have to send it off to them. But I do have a few copies here if anyone does need one urgently. Do that. But we've got till the end of March, and then once March comes, you will no longer be able to log in with your AUSKey. So something you need to do this before then.
Loretta's face.
I might head that way for a weekend, Loretta.
I thought we had to the end of June.
Yes, Sasha?
Look, I'm just wondering has anyone actually been through to submit? I know that a couple of you are doing outsourcing of your payroll. Has anyone actually done this, the MyGovID, gone through the RAMs and actually uploaded any PAYG data yet to ATO?
With the ATO, it goes through MyOb.
Yeah. So, look, no, I'm not using MyOb. I use another system, but still, same thing. Yeah, it goes direct to ATO.
Yeah. But have we done it yet? We've set it all up, but have we actually done it yet?
The thing is, when it comes through, it actually sort of, because it's all linked already. I'll double check on that, but I don't think there's any change with that at all. There is something about credential machines which I have to follow up on, which that may be part and parcel with your accounting system.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if anyone's actually tried it yet. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, we've registered and linked through the MyGov.
Yeah.
But when I did the payroll the other day, it just went through as normal to report to them. So
okay, all right, fingers crossed. Or not at the end of this month, whether it works or not.
I'll let you know. Hazel, you have another.
Sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. All that's changing is the access to the portal. We're not changing how we're reporting anything or anything like that. All it is just a different way of getting onto the portal. So once which I've just done whilst I was listening, when you go onto the portal, that doesn't change. That's exactly the same. It's just a different way of getting on.
Log in with the MyGovID, which is it's just a security thing to show exactly who it is, and you can't sort of, like, a lot of AUSKeys have been shared or passed on.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, part and parcel of why this has come in.
Yeah, and that's so Sasha, so your actual reporting and all of that, none of that changes. I don't think it's just an access to the portal.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
principal, exactly.
Yeah, so no, yeah, I haven't actually just tried it yet. I'm just nervous to try it.
Not big. It's not that big.
I will follow up on that just to make sure. As I said, I know there's a thing about credential machines. And so in the next section, when I go through, there is something that I'll mention about that. But as I said, I haven't got there yet. So that's the next step once this is all, we've completed this. And as I said, it took us 3 goes to get it.
I think Natalie's got a question.
Yeah. Natalie?
Sorry, so I've got another question, sorry. So do we still log on through AUSKey? Is that what you're saying, but we use the MyGov?
No, you go to the business portal.
Or MyGov?
No. You go to the business portal and it will say the ATO.
The ATO business portal.
Sorry. So the business portal, and all, at the moment it has login with your MyGovID or login with AUSKey, and a big note that says AUSKey will not work after the 31st of March.
Okay.
So it's the same one in there, but it's just using a different login credential.
So a personal login, basically.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, that's right. It is personal. It has to be your phone, your details, your ID, and your email address.
But your AUSKey is personal as well, because when you come up with your
Yes.
ID, it has your name, so it is personal still. It's just a different form of identification of who is actually, and it's the same thing. It's the double security that, okay, we're logging in, we've got that, all right, just your phone, here's the number, you know, the passwords, things like that. It's just extra security.
Does that answer your question, Natalie?
Yeah, I feel like it's very personal though.
Well, it is personal, but the thing is, it is yours and yours alone, and no one else can see. So, as I said, I've had 5, when I went in, I had 5 different businesses that I could link my MyGovID to. 4 of them, yes, I have, and 1 I haven't.
Okay,
because
so you
I'm no longer involved.
And for me, when I went in, I am involved with Linkwest. I'm also on the board of another organisation, and I have authorisation for that, so I could see that. And we also have a super fund, so I could see that. So it's all the details attached specifically to me. But I understand what you're saying. But it is. You have to have. It has to be your phone and your ID.
So if I went into this account, could I see all my, because I do have a MyGov account already.
No, completely separate. It's got nothing to do with your personal MyGov. Eventually they're talking about combining it, but at present it's got nothing to do with MyGov. It's a separate thing altogether.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Now there's quite a few steps with bits and pieces, and I'm hoping that we'll send that out to you. One of the things that I did, which is going to confuse everyone, as I said, because you have to have your own personal email to register for your MyGovID. But when you're going in, you can actually use the business email address. So in this step when you go in, so that way the emails will then go to the centre. So, and that will tell them who has received a notification to access your business through this part and parcel when you link your MyGov to a business. And so the principal authority will get the email to say so-and-so has been added, and so no one can sort of add someone without you being notified. So, but as I said, there's step-by-step pictures, which is really handy, so you can see. It will make it a bit easier for you. And the only thing is just to verify all that your information that you put in before you go to the next step is correct. So, is there any other questions before we go on about authorising employees?
Okay, right, move on to authorising employees.
Okay, so this is where the principal authority can create authorisation for employees and other individuals to work. So whoever is that first initial setup, they are the person that needs to then send out an invitation and authorise someone else to use, to go through and be able to access. So
can I just ask a question? So I am the authorised.
You're a principal
I'm
authority.
the principal authority, and so when I went in, I set up. I invited you to be as the finance officer to be the authorised
administrator. So there's 4 different authorisations. So there's an authorisation administrator, is the user who can create and manage authorisations for others. So that's why you, as a coordinator, and the public officer, when they set you up, to set you up as that. And then that way you are able then to go in, and so if the treasurer leaves, you can then go in and set up and invite that person.
Invite a new treasurer.
To then
take the old treasurer off, invite
the new treasurer on. So, and it's the same, it's just one of those things, but if you're not that, the authorised user is a user who can only work on behalf of the business. So if you just want somebody to just lodge, do that thing, but then they're possibly not able to change any details or go in and adjust anything. So
sorry, I just need to have clarification. So this is for my benefit. Sorry, I am the principal authority.
So you have full access.
So I have full access. I can do everything. I have invited you and authorised you to be the authorisation administrator. Okay, so, and you're the finance officer. So if you were a centre manager and you had a finance officer, the centre manager would be the principal authority and the finance officer would probably be the authorisation administrator.
You could do that. You could do
that's
that.
What we've done.
That's what we've done.
Okay, but I could. But if I
Sasha's nodding.
If I'm doing everything and I didn't have a finance officer, I wouldn't need to invite somebody to be the authorisation administrator. If I was in a small centre where I did all the bookkeeping.
Yes, because you need to.
You have to have 2.
Well, you need to have 2 for that backup if that person leaves.
So then would it be that where you'd make a committee member? Like the treasurer?
You could make the treasurer, yes. So, or as you said, if you've got a paid bookkeeper, then that person can have access.
Right.
They could just be a user so that they can't change anything. They can just submit and do whatever. But for the person, the authorisation administrator is, you should have at least one person other than the principal authority. Yeah, I'm getting our tongue twisted around that.
Yes, so Loretta's.
Hello. Yes.
So is this at all linked to the ABR? So if we make changes, these changes that you're speaking of, if somebody does drop off, will that automatically come across, or do we have to go back through the ABR and?
No, what you need to do is, as the authorisation administrator, you can then go into the ABR, the Australian Business Register site, and add the new committee members or the things like that. You can actually adjust that without actually being listed there. So even if you're not the public authority, the public officer, if you've got this administrator access, then you can go in and add and delete you and committee members.
Thanks.
So that's with it. There's also the machine credential administrator. So as I said, I'm not sure what that entails and whether it's to do with lodging your things through your software. I've read a little bit. I think that may be what it is, but I'm going to follow up on that.
I don't know. Sorry, can I just stop this? Sasha, as you've probably gone the furthest down, do you know anything about the machine credential administrator?
No, only because we come under what you guys have actually done. So our manager's our principal, and I've been invited to participate. And once I get my new telephone, I'm going to log in as the authorised administrator. Just exactly what you and Judy have said.
The only thing being, I think, is when she sent the invite, did she tick yes to be a machine credential administrator?
I ticked every box.
As yes?
Yeah, well, when I log in to find out, I'll find out when I log in and load up. But I ticked every box. I could go into the department.
So who, the principal authority sent you an email request?
That's right. But
And
I
you-
set it up for her.
Oh, you set it up for her. So, okay. Same here.
Yeah, same here.
Exactly what Judy did.
Yeah.
Ticked that yes, your machine credited. So yes as the authorised administrator and yes to the machine credentialed administrator, so that if down the track we need to set that up, then it's already there.
It's already done. Fingers crossed. That's what I've done. Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully that is it. The other thing is the principal.
Sorry, can I just, this is just double checking then that everybody is kind of still with us.
No.
No. Probably if you're not, had nothing to do with AUSKey, like Alicia, this is like double Dutch, but, and Susan, but yeah, Susan.
I've set mine up while we've been talking.
You set yours up while we've been talking. Brilliant. Oh, and you've just frozen as well, unfortunately.
Oh.
Sorry, Susan. You.
See.
Oh, there you are.
There you go. You froze then, but well, fantastic. Okay, brilliant.
So as the public,
just checking.
to the public authority, before you actually send out your invites, there's a couple of things you really need to have checked, and that they've set up their digital identity. So if you've got their MyGov, you need to have to actually, it has to be exact as to what is your, so when you're in your MyGov login, you will see that it has, is it MyGov identity? So if you click on that, it'll come up and it'll have your name, and how your name is showing there, that is how it has to be on the invite from that.
Are you talking about on the app?
On the app,
Yeah.
yes. So if your personal app, when you go in,
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
so it's view your MyGov ID information, and it comes up and it'll show your identity as your name, and exactly how the name is. If it's uppercase, put it as uppercase. Do it exactly the same as what is in there.
Yeah. So how you set it up in the app.
And
yeah. So for some reason in mine, it's come up with my name, and I really don't think I did this intentionally. It's got my name in uppercase. So it's got my first name, my middle name, and my last name in middle case, in uppercase. For some reason, when Judy was set up, it was your first name and your last name, but not, you know,
it was the first, but it was lowercase.
But lowercase. And when you try to then go in,
yeah, it wouldn't
recognize it. So it has to be exactly how you've set up your ID.
So, and then the email address. So when they send the invite, the email address that can only be accessed. So your personal email address that when you first set up your MyGovID and only accessible to you, it has to lock on your phone, and that is what they send. So it's one of those things, so it's step by step, and once you're in there, it is fairly basic. You just follow the steps, but there are, as I said, this is few of the things that we encountered that caused us some issues. So it's, so what I'll do, as I said, we're going to send this stuff out to you, which will sort of, and be able to run through it and go through it. So it's good to familiarise yourself with it before you start the process, just by looking, and there's quite a few videos as well. There'll be links to videos, and if you can just go in the videos, and it'll just sort of step you through a few of these little things. But a lot of the stuff that we're saying is just what happened to us and how the issues came. So it's having those things before you even start is one of the big help. So once that person has sent that authorisation request through, you will receive that email, and you've got 7 days to accept it. If you haven't accepted it in that 7 days, then the principal authority will have to go back in and resend you a new code. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of going in and clicking and entering the codes that come in your emails. So other than that, that's pretty much, once you've done that, you should be able to log in everything through your MyGovID.
I'm exhausted.
Sharon's exhausted.
My brain's about to explode.
So, I mean, I suppose for me, my piece of advice is make sure, and this is very hard. I mean, I understand this at centres, that you've got at least an hour where the phones aren't going to ring, where you can just concentrate and work your way through it step by step. And ideally, you'll have the person who's going to be the principal authority, the person who's going to be the authorised administrator together, and and at least the board member who is going to be attached to this, either as an administrator, authorised administrator, and authorised user, all together with your phones that are compatible. And the app downloaded, so that you can just work through it step by step, because we were sort of juggling between the phones, doing things on the computer, running backwards and forwards, talking to each other, working out, has this worked, hasn't it worked? So that would be my piece of advice as the centre manager for Linkwest. That was my experience. Right, so any other comments or questions from anybody? Yeah, Loretta.
So I do the finances and everything here, like a lot of centres, and we have the treasurer as well. Would you recommend that I go in at, for want of a better word, the higher level, and invite the other people in so if I set it up myself but then if I'm not on the ABR, we have to go back and revisit the ABR.
Yeah, so if you're not on the ABR as such, then you would need the treasurer who should be listed. If they're not listed, you are possibly able to list them so that then they can get the set up. But as I said, I'm recommending that you get the committee to appoint you as the public officer. You can then go in with your AUSKey into that section and log in through your AUSKey while it's still available, and add yourself as the public officer.
Okay.
And once you've done that, then you become the principal
authority,
and then you can then invite your treasurer as an authorised access. So that would be my first step. But the first step is you're finding out with the ABR who is listed, and whoever can be your public authority.
And as just following on from that, I think if, in most cases, in most centres, the centre manager is there, there's lower turnover with the centre manager than there is with the committee, so that the centre manager is the public authority, and therefore the principal authorisation.
And also the committee are generally less involved overall. So yeah, if we're at the coalface doing it all here, but yeah, the less convoluted would be better.
And as I said, even if you've got your MyGovID, it doesn't mean you have to go and do this stuff. It's just that there is that backup to be able to change and keep everything up to date. That's what we're really stressing, because as I said, the bookkeeper that does all the BAS, does everything, they can be an authorised user and have that access. But as the original public authority, then you can, if they change, you can then take them off and add them on, add on the new people. So it's just a matter of training a couple of people, as I said, but having more than one or two, just in case something terrible happens or something and everyone leaves all at once and nobody can access anything, it just sort of makes it a bit easier. So having at least 3 listed is, especially on your the business register, you have to have a minimum of 2. So, but you could have the whole committee probably listed on there if you wanted to, because you don't really need it, but it's a matter of having it updated to take things off as you need it.
And make sure you have all that minuted.
Yes, just so it's there, so that if the tax department come back and say, well, how'd you get on here? What are you doing? Because on that thing, it has to be a listed. And if you're looking at that with your ACNC, you are listed as the public officer in that as well.
If you're registered.
If you're registered, yeah.
I think Natalie had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so if I'm understanding this correct, we can have like 2 people listed as like the public officer and 2 people listed as the,
No, only have one public officer.
so you can only have 1 person in each position.
Yes. So sort of with your authorisation administrator, you could have more than one in that. But
Okay.
your public authority one is whoever is listed. It's usually just the one person.
Which you're a coordinator.
I think that for me, I think that, you know, for Linkwest, that makes the most sense. And then the finance officer is the authorised administrator, and the treasurer is an authorised administrator.
Okay.
Yes. So there's different, as I said, it just sort of pays to just have that something. And if it is minuted and they're happy for that, you just update on the ACNC and add.
If not, most centres are not registered with the
They're not,
ACNC.
okay, so that doesn't matter. But on the thing you just list when you choose on the ABR, can I say ABR?
ABR,
The Australian Business Register. They'll have a thing, and so you put the position of what you are. So it is a public officer, and there's a step-by-step guide when you log into that, and you can check all your details. So you make sure that your address is correct. There's about 5 or 6 different tabs that go across, and you just go in and check, okay, so that's that. So the main one, when you get to it, that everything goes through, is your associates. And it'll list who your associates are, and you may find that, who the hell is this person? You know, so you need to then just add your committee members, and when you do, you need their personal residential address and their date of birth. So you'll need to have that information as well once you know who you need and you're looking to add if they're not already there. So you put their full name, their residential address and their date of birth and add it, and then it should, not a problem. And then you can delete anyone else. Once you've got more than 2 current, you can delete any that no longer.
Oh, okay. So you have to make sure you've got 2 current. So that would probably be your chair and your treasurer, for example, or your bookkeeper. And then you can take off any others that left. Like we had a chairperson that had left.
A bookkeeper can't be on there.
Oh,
no,
okay.
that has to be the treasurer.
There
It has to be someone that holds a committee position.
Right.
The bookkeeper would then become an authorised user. Or
I think Jodie had a question. Jodie?
Yeah, thank you. Just along the same lines, our former chairperson would be our public officer because she had to authorise me to have access to the AUSKey. So would it be best that I just contact her and say, can you go in and make me the public officer? Is that how that would, no?
She could do that, but the thing is, if she is no longer with the centre, she really shouldn't be on there to do anything. But if the committee are happy for you to become the public officer, and if she still has that, if you've got access with your AUSKey that you have access, don't you?
I do, but I'm not sure at what level. I don't think that I can go in and change anything. I'm just that authorised user.
Well, it might pay just to check that out, because as I said, I don't know whether the user can do that. I've got a feeling they can't, but check that first. And then if not, then yes, she could go in and if there are the only 2 people that have access to it, and do it that way so that you become that person that then invites everyone else. So if you've got any issues, just flick me an email and I'll give you a call back if there's anything that you need to.
So there's a couple of steps. You need to go to your committee, Jodie, I reckon, get them to make you a public officer, and if they're happy for her, even though she's not there, just to make you the public officer, and then that should help.
Yep. Okay.
Take her off then.
Thank you.
Okay. Natalie, sorry.
I have a quick question. You mentioned before about the ACNC that we did not need to be registered with the ACN.
No, sorry. That was my bad. Not every centre is registered with the ACNC. So for those that are not registered, then they wouldn't need to worry about the ACNC.
So are we supposed to be registered?
Oh, Natalie, that is another whole hour's conversation. When the ACNC was originally set up, it was the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission, and the idea was all not-for-profits as well as charities. So any organisation that has deductible gift recipient, is a deductible gift recipient, or public benevolence institution is a charity, it has to be registered with the ACNC. However, when it was set up, a lot of centres, including Linkwest, through the ATO was written to and automatically registered on there. There are advantages to being registered on the ACNC. One is in the other states now, and I'm hoping that WA is moving in this direction, I believe they are. If you're registered with the ACNC, you then do not have to also be registered and update your details with the state authority, Department of Commerce or Department of Mining and Industry Regulation, as it is here, DEMOs. So at the moment, because Linkwest is on the ACNC, we have to just update our responsible persons, but we just tick a box to say we're on the ACNC, and then we just update all of our AI annual information statement with the ACNC. It's a nightmare.
I am with the ACNC, we're registered, but just recently I was contacted by the Department of Mines.
Yes.
I won't go through what it was all about. It was something to do with Waikiki Centre. But they said to me that we hadn't updated our associations online for 2 years, and we had to do it before we were considered for what they wrote to us about. Because there's money funds there from Waikiki there, we can apply as a beneficiary. Yeah, so I thought, because I thought I didn't have to do it anymore.
No. So you actually, at every not-for-profit in WA has to be registered with what's now that used to be Department of Commerce. It's now the Department of Mines and Industry Regulation. They have a portal called Associations Online, and every year after your AGM, you need to update your registered, who's on your committee, and within the basic information that they ask for. And if you're registered with the ACNC, you have to update that and do your annual information statement. So you have to do both.
I have done both, but yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And what this conversation is highlighting for me is, I think that in sort of October, November time, what Linkwest could do is to send out an email to all our members to say, right, most of you have had your AGMs, following your AGM, make sure and have a tick list. You've updated on the associations online. If you're registered with the ACNC, you've updated that. You check your whoever's details are on the ABN and ABR, sorry, or the ABR, and we perhaps just do a bit of a checklist for centres to go through after AGMs, because there's the compliance now is really something else.
Yeah. I have to go. I have someone here. I'm sorry. I'll have to.
We're running over time now, so thanks, Natalie.
But if there's any questions, just drop me an email on the accounts at linkwest.asn.au.
Yeah.
And I'm only in 3 days a week, but if I can't answer it, I will ring you and we'll just have a discussion if need be. So
thank you. Very informative.
Great, thank you for joining us, Natalie. So this video will be loaded up onto YouTube. If you want to go back and clarify anything, Judy's notes will be made available, and we're hoping that Judy's accountant's notes, which are very comprehensive, we're going to ask them if we can provide that as a Linkwest resource in acknowledgement and acknowledge their contribution. So we're waiting for the okay for that. Any other last final questions? No.
Could I have a quick question, please? Sorry. Hi, I was just wondering, our treasurer said that we could possibly have a tablet for the centre, and I do all my dealings through that. But is that possible, or do I have to have my own mobile phone with my own ID?
So that's a really good question, because one of my board members came up with that suggestion and said, you can go to, because I'd said that we basically had to then make a contribution towards Judy to upgrade her phone, because obviously she hadn't needed to upgrade her phone.
Yes.
The issue is that that iPad has to be registered in your name with your details.
Okay.
So, oh no, also it has to be a phone.
No, but I think you can
Can
do
you-
it. I think
can
you
you?
can do it. It says it's downloaded on tablet.
So
That's
how did,
right.
okay, so they
But you just have to have it with you, and yeah.
but
and-
again, it's still all in your personal name, because it's about you registering your personal details, Rebecca.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the issue then is when you leave, that iPad cannot be used for the same purpose by anybody else in the centre, because it's.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yes. Okay. So could we ask, as coordinators, could we ask the committee to contribute some sort of funding to upgrade our phones, or is that something we?
If it's
would have-
needed.
Yeah, so Linkwest, so I made the decision, obviously as the centre manager for Linkwest,
Yes. Yes.
that you know, Judy couldn't do her job without a phone that was compatible. So she download her app. So Judy went out, did a bit of research, and we agreed that Linkwest would contribute a certain amount of money for her to upgrade her phone, so that it was compatible, so she can do her job.
Yes. Okay.
And also, if you speak to your accountant, you'd be able to claim part of your
part of the cost.
The cost of, but also your ongoing cost, your plan.
Yes.
Because you need that for work, you'd be able to claim a portion of that as well. So if you're doing that,
Yes. Yes.
make sure you put that in your tax.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very good point.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Question, thanks, Rebecca. I meant to touch on that. Any other questions from anybody? No.
I need a drink.
Yeah, Lindley.
Well, just wanted to ask a question, because yes, I'm definitely going to have to upgrade my phone, and I don't do that by choice. I don't wish to, so obviously that's a problem. I think if our chairperson's going to be involved in doing this, which seems that she's going to need to be, I think she's someone who's also going to have to upgrade her phone. We have no idea at all about our ABR anymore, because nobody can identify who's on it. We can't get into the AUSKey. We can't do anything with it. So I think that form that we're going to have to online download is our first step as well. So I've always had I've always felt uncomfortable with the fact that it's a personal thing, not something to do with the business. And I have really stepped away from a lot of this, because I don't believe it's anything to do with me personally. It just happens to be that this is my job. And that's not something I've been comfortable with for quite some time now. Yes. Everything is so personal rather than what I do as a job.
So Lindley, just as you said, you can't log in with the AUSKey because you don't have the password or something. Is that what it is?
Well, I think, like somebody who did a couple of years ago, I think when Super was changing over and we had to go to a different way of dealing with Super, we tried to get into our AUSKey to make it work, and I had very long conversations with ATO, and we couldn't provide information about who might have been. I think some of the people were dead, whatever. And in the end, we gave up, and we stuck with CBus Quick Super because we can do it through there. We still pay our BAS online through a paper form. So, yeah, it's just.
So I mean, for the time being, it sounds like you can continue to do that through paper form, but am I right in saying this?
Yeah, and that doesn't worry us, no.
Yeah, and so in which case you won't need to worry about having phones accepted that are compatible. My suspicion is that ultimately that option will not be there. But obviously you also do need to fill out the form to work out who's on the register, the Australian Business Register, in the meantime, and who the public officers are, etc.
Because we couldn't get that from anywhere.
And just in terms of phones, you can from Australia Post buy for about $200 phones that are compatible, that are with software is compatible to download. So if the centre does need to buy a brand new phone, that is one option. The complication is if you're already on a, the employee is already on a plan, etc. Then that all of those things have to be taken into account.
And it comes back to if it's the centre's phone.
No, I'm talking about if you have to buy it for the individual. There's no point in buying it for the centre because it has to be registered in that person.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, okay, lovely, thanks.
Bye-bye.
No, thank you very much. It was wonderful.
Good, okay, I'm glad that was helpful. We'll be sending an evaluation and you can give feedback. And also we'd like to know if there's any other ask Judy, ask Jane, ask, questions or topics that you'd like, which you can let us know on the evaluation form when we send it out to you.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay,
See you.
bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Don't know why I have to keep sticking my hand in.
Can't help myself.
No, I can't help myself.
You're feeling left out.
No show without
Yeah, I'll just end the record. Is it ending the meeting? Okay, let's just stop that. Okay, sorry.